Hello from Korea, so I'm Priyanka.
I'm Nick.
And we are here talking to you today about the process of quarantine during the pandemic. So the reason for this video is firstly for all our family and friends to understand what we're doing, and the second reason is for all those other people who are travelling here who are looking for resources and trying to work out what the situation's like. Hopefully we can help you a little bit too. Doing the research, you can go onto the Korean Embassy website and things, and it's very helpful, but obviously not truly illustrative of what it actually is going to be like. So I ended up going onto YouTube and like falling down the YouTube hole of other people's videos, which I actually found really helpful. There are a few documents that we had printed, before we left, just so we knew we had them physically before our eyes. So that was a negative COVID test, which was taken within 72 hours of departure, right? Yeah, okay, so we had that, one each. You can't get that on the NHS or anything, just you have to go to a private clinic. So that's one thing to organise. We had to check our travel insurance was valid because lots of people are a bit fussy about COVID, obviously, understandably. So just make sure that it covers all those things, look online, blah, 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 that's fine. We needed a valid travel reason. I think that was to enter Korea, wasn't it? Or was it to leave the country?
I think it's for UK reasons.
Okay, because of the UK lockdown, fine. But we had, a letter from works explaining why we were going, why we were leaving the country, and they actually did ask us for it, so that was always good to have. And we also knew that when we arrive, we would need to give the Korean authorities a contact number for someone in Korea. So just so you've got everything, that's what we'd recommend physically having with you. We also took our marriage certificate because of our fear of being split up, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, so when we, the flight was fine. We had masks, we had to wear throughout the flight, which we kind of expected. Once we arrived at the airport in Korea, instead of the normal immigration process, there's now like 6 or 7 different desks you have to go through.
So each step.
Exactly. So the first step is you give them your printed PCR certificate, and they give you back like a Korean version.
And they check your temperature, obviously, like all that stuff.
And then you go through to where they install apps on your phone, to where you basically have to log depending which kind of quarantine route you take, is different amounts of time, but we have to do it every 2 days. Yeah,
so you sit down basically with some people at a desk. It's really nice, and there's like a shield between you and stuff. And it's like, it was 2 like relatively young Korean boys, and then we gave them our smartphone, they downloaded the app, like English linguistic barrier was actually fine, and they're really helpful, so yeah.
And then they even gave Prang a couple of sweets, Korean sweets, which was nice. We then went through to get our lanyards, which is like gives you like a different color, which means like determines which route you go through the process. Ours was a stay up to 90 days, which is essentially a tourist version. Others were a lot of people from the American military in Seoul Airport at the moment. So a lot of them were in that kind of classification. They get different colors. And then ultimately, once you've gone through immigration, once you sign a declaration that you agree to be quarantined, you then get put into a little kind of holding area where the police kind of check you in, and before they put you on a bus off to your quarantine facility.
Prior to leaving, one thing is that we got a SIM card. So when we're in the airport, so you do your like baggage claim, you do all the 10 desks or whatever, and then you go get your baggage. And then basically when you open those doors, those arrival doors, and there's basically no people waiting for you except for Korean authorities. And the guys there were really nice. So we just said, can we please help us get a SIM card? And they were like, sure. They kept our bags to us. We had loads and loads and loads of suitcases. I don't know why we had so many suitcases. And basically they walked us down, we got a SIM card, we got exactly what we wanted with like minutes and like an actual phone number here that you can call on, because I think if you're here longer, they recommend that you actually have a Korean number because of like bookings and deliveries and stuff is easier. So that's one thing that we did in the airport before we left, which was like very helpful. So.
Yeah. And then we took a bus to the quarantine facility. This is kind of where it's really potluck on which facility you get, because apparently they have everything from 2 to 4-star hotels. It's kind of really is, I think they kind of put you into little groups, and once you get enough people and the bus is there, they sit you on the bus, and it's actually quite a full bus considering people might have COVID, and they drive you then to your facility. So we were actually quite lucky in ours. We were really worried, first of all, we were expecting to be split up into different rooms.
Yeah, this had been on our mind, and especially my mind, for a very long time. So on YouTube and everywhere, it keeps saying that you're quarantined separately on your own, they split up families. I emailed the Korean embassy but didn't really get an answer to that question. So we were also mentally prepared to be apart, completely alone for 15 days, falling asleep on Zoom.
And the The worst case scenario is obviously being split into different hotels
Yeah.
and different rooms. But actually what happened is, and also being like one of the worst hotels on the list that they use for the quarantine hotels. But actually it turned out, I think we've got one of the best hotels, I assume.
Yeah.
It's a really nice, I think 4-star hotel.
It's called Marina Bay.
And we've got a nice view over the
marina.
With a balcony. It's actually really nice.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
When you get off the bus, you're greeted by people in hazmat suits, like full body suits, and you get put in queues, and then you get filed into this room where you have to fill out more forms. They check you've got the right mobile app installed.
They come round and check you on your phone.
And they check everything for you. You then
Really
get
good.
one by one, you go up to the 2 stations. The first station is to assign a room, and the second station is to assign whether you've got any dietary requirements or anything like that, where they literally check off a list of do you have any allergies to seafood, or do you follow halal?
It's really cute, yeah.
Yeah. And then when the check-in one, that's kind of the if you want to try and stay together as 2 people, that's the critical step.
Yeah.
So before that, they don't do any of that stuff. It's only once you arrive at least with us,
Yeah.
at the hotel. And
That's what
here,
it's like.
they ask you up individually, but we went together instead. We're together, and he'd already got a key out for Priyanka with just her, and he was like, "Oh, together?" And we're like, "Yep." And he was like, "Okay," and that was it.
Yeah, he literally just went back into his big box of keys and just found a specially highlighted one. It was had a yellow sticker on, and gave it to us, and we were like, "Thank God." That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best parts of the day.
So we basically ended up. It's about 3.2 million won, which is about just above £2,000 for 2 weeks for 2 of us, and that includes your accommodation. As in, they explicitly tell you that this is not a hotel.
This is not a hotel.
This is a quarantine facility.
It's a quarantine facility.
in a hotel.
In a hotel.
So there's no room service. You can't get deliveries, apparently. Although we have seen some YouTube videos of people who have got deliveries. But essentially that price includes all your meals,
3 times a day,
your health tests, your temperature test once a day,
everything.
They guard you.
The alarm on the door.
The alarm on the door. All of that included in that price.
Yeah, it's good. So yeah, basically we were really lucky. So we came up and in the lift, and yeah, we're so surprised, weren't we, when we opened the door and we're like, thank God, not only are we together, but we've got somewhere that we're not going to literally be living right on top of each other, just a little bit.
Just very near each other.
Just really, yeah, literally. So we're really, really lucky. We've got a little bit of an outdoor space, a little balcony, which is unexpected and really good. As Nick said, it overlooks the marina, so it's quite bright and pretty. We've got a bath. I'll stop bragging, but it's really nice. We're very, very lucky. And then basically, they give you when you arrive. So it's got toiletries, it's got a thermometer, which is somewhere. They give you a thermometer each, which is really exciting. Tea, coffee, what else do they give you in that thing?
Bin bags, which look they are weight.
Toxic waste bags, so bright orange, you are toxic, but in a really gentle way.
And then they have a little thing that tells you how to do it. So you have to put it in one toxic orange bag, and then you have to pack that into a second orange toxic bag, and you have to put it out at a specific time of day outside your room, and then it gets collected.
Yeah, so this is the booklet that we got when we arrived in the room. We got one each, didn't we? And it's basically a book of instructions, and it's really incongruently formatted, and it's Jojo, go on, yay! Got a timetable. It's really exciting, actually. It's quite good reading.
Here it tells you that what happens in the swab they do. It tells you the body temperature that happens every day. It tells you about the meal supply. So every single day at 8 o'clock, or usually 10 to 8, they're quite fast here.
They're so fast.
We get the speaker crackles for about 10 seconds, and then you get
it wakes you up really relaxingly.
And then you get a Korean notification to say your meal's here, and then an English communication. You go outside, and all the meals are there. And it's quite funny. You can actually watch all the tourists open up their doors and pick up their meals and come in, and that happens 3 times a day: 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. And all the meals are basically these little trays of food. And we're going to do a separate video on the meals. Subscribe.
Another thing is on day 2 when you arrive here, they do a COVID test on you. So the medical team come to your room with all the equipment and stuff and the swabs, and you have to open your doors or your windows or everything because they're aerosolizing the virus, and they come and they go super deep, don't they? So right up, right back, and do your swab. I believe if it's positive, even if you're asymptomatic, you have to go to a hospital facility and remain there until it's negative. So you need to be also mentally prepared for that as a possibility.
And there's no smoking, which is fine because we don't smoke. But it was quite funny because we heard a tourist. We heard a notification, which I assume.
Smell the tourist first.
Yeah, we did smell tourist smoking, and there was an announcement which basically said, if you smoke, you will be asked to leave this country. So it's like, it's pretty serious. And in here somewhere, they have a whole list of examples. I'm not sure which page it's on.
Rule breakers.
So they have this tourist smoked. No, did not.
It's about people that run away.
So this tourist ran away or left the quarantine facility, was caught after 8 hours. This tourist was caught after 3 days, and then penalty. Basically, everyone gets a penalty of a fine. They have to leave the country, and they're not allowed in again for 5 years. So
yeah, the rules are really strict. They're fine. So no smoking, no alcohol at all. You can't drink. Okay, you can't open your door unless they tell you on the speaker that you can open your door. And that's only for meals and your daily temperature check, because they also come and check your temperature. But that's it. Otherwise, just don't open your door. Don't break the rules. Just be really, really good, because they're very good to us. They're very kind. They've always got a smile through their hazmat suit. So it's really good. So I know I've talked for the majority of this, haven't I?
Have you?
I think so. I'm not sure anymore. So before we go, last couple of tips. So firstly, have no expectations when you're traveling at the moment with coronavirus. Secondly, if you're a fussy eater and you're coming to Korea, I recommend bringing some snacks, things like cup noodles or something, because the food is really good, but it's also very Korean. You can opt for a Western menu, but I mean, yeah. Thirdly, be prepared for the worst case scenario. Okay, so as I said, we could have been separated and put into different hotels, different community hospitals, never to see each other again. And fourthly, and probably most importantly, is be kind to everyone that you encounter, because I mean, it's a really hard job what these people are doing. They're basically shepherding and looking after you whilst wearing full PPE and hazmat suits, and they're doing it all with a smile and loads of kindness. So yeah, just be really nice to everyone. That's fine.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe.